Justin, I I have a confession to make. I think I love the Green Inferno. Um, I watched it. I spent my day um, newly unemployed. I watched the Green Inferno, and then I watched Cannibal Holocaust just to make sure that I liked the Green Inferno more. And then I watched the Green Inferno again, and then I watched Cannibal Ferox. Is that it? Is that what that title is?
Yeah, I think so.
But I don't know. It's forgettable. So I mean, the fact that I forgot the title is fine too. Um,
Hmm.
I love the Green Inferno. It is fucking awesome. It's really fucking good. I I grew up really into Eli Roth when I was a teenager, and I guess I just kind of not really gave up on him. I just thought I outgrew him. So when the Green Inferno came out, it was at a time when I just was already just uninterested in the Roth brand.
Yeah.
And I knew this one had a bad reputation or was generally disliked or mixed to leaning towards negative reactions to the movie. So I never really gave this one much thought. And then, holy shit, I watched it today. I think it's fucking amazing. I think The Green Inferno is just such a great movie, actually. We're gonna dive into it here. If you don't know Justin, the Style is Substance movie channel, and and I and I think Justin likes The Green Inferno too.
I
Or we're gonna
that
figure that out during this video if he likes.
I think so. So yeah, I saw it last night, and I will admit I liked it more than I thought I would. I saw from the reputation. I have never seen an Eli Roth film before that, and I don't think Inglorious Bastards counts. I know that he kind of yeah, that's Tarantino. But so I saw Good Inferno for the first time, and I think I can at least say that I like it. My immediate thought was terrible politics, and in some ways, yeah, probably. But the more I thought about it, the more I came to enjoy aspects of it in ways I didn't think I would enjoy.
Well, I
Uh,
like I like the politics quite a bit. Uh, we'll
you,
dive into that soon with the thesis. Is activism gay? Uh, it's spoken actually by probably my favorite character. In horror movies, sometimes you try to find like an analog for yourself, and just to start off this movie, it's essentially a film that punishes like college idealism, misinformed activism. But there is this one character. It's Justine's blonde roommate who Roth insists upon a lot for the first 15 minutes or so. You think she'll actually be a character in this movie, but she's not because she's smart and Roth obviously likes her and she doesn't have to be punished. And she has these great lines like, "You're not actually gonna go talk to them, are you? Because activism is fucking gay." And yeah, actually, I think it is pretty bad. Um, but this is the tone that Roth sets, and this might surprise some people who know what I say about Hostel. I think Hostel is a really juvenile movie, a mostly immature kind of movie, which is fine. I think we need a certain amount of immaturity in horror movies, but I see a lot of people reviewing The Green Inferno and being like, "Wake me up when Eli Roth grows up," and I actually think this is as mature as he'll ever get. I'm not saying it's incredibly sophisticated, but it's a lot more mature than any of his previous works um, in every respect. Honestly. Hostel is 45 minutes soft core porn meets American Pie, bad gags and shit like that. We don't have any of that here. Gratuitous nudity is noticeably absent from this film as well. Um, there are certain aspects where I think it is more mature, and I think that the politics of it are slightly more nuanced than most people want to believe.
yeah, that's
But
kind of what I
also,
was
I think
thinking.
yeah, I think the people who criticize it too, this film is deliberately lampooning and satirizing because this is a film that does punish. It came out in 2013 or 2015. I'm gonna say SJWs. It is a film that does satirize and lampoon.
SJW.
I mean, it came out in the heyday of it. And these kids are certainly misinformed activists, and one of them ends up as a Che Guevara stand-in on a T-shirt. I think it's pretty clear. Eli Roth has always been somewhat of a reactionary, but in the sense that I think it's like beneficial to the horror genre. So we can dive into the politics more. I don't exactly know how we're going to structure this because my mind is just kind
Scattered,
of blown right
right?
now. Just such, yeah, really scattered. It's such a fucking good movie. I don't even think that the politics of the movie is muddled. I think it's only muddled if if you deserve to be punished as well. It's about a group of kids going out essentially for a photo op. I mean, the blonde friend at the beginning calls them all narcissists and like self-obsessed and contrived, theatrical, which all the kids are, regardless of whether or not what they're doing is a fraud unbeknownst to them. They are narcissistic. They are naive. And I love that they are punished by the very people that they claim to be trying to save.
Yeah.
It punishes naivety. It punishes immaturity completely. And I think that people are uncomfortable with that lately.
Their activism, what calls them, is actually kind of informed by this Americanized exceptionalism in a way that they're not even really aware of. At least Alejandro and the other politically active activists in a way. They, I mean, Alejandro lacks sincerity, but the whole group, they don't really know what they're getting into. They want to kind of be like the heroes for this tribe that's being bulldozed down, and in some ways it's like, yeah, they think that they're fighting for a good cause, but at the same time they really don't know what they're dealing with exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They think they're fighting for a good cause, but they refuse to actually engage with the cause itself.
Well, there's that scene where they're flying back before the plane gets shot down, and they tell Justine, like, you're a hero now. They're celebrating, even though Alejandro knows that it's not, that they're just delaying the destruction of the forest. And in a way, it's like it's almost like that call to heroism, to like, we save these people that they don't know them, they don't know anything about them.
No, and they weren't ever going to see them even. It's easy to champion a culture when you don't know anything about it. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's tricky though. It's a tricky film to talk about, I think.
It's tricky, but I think it should be problematic in the way that it is tricky. Because I mean, this culture is fucked. I don't care. This culture is fucked up in this movie. It's a fictional culture. I can say this. It's a fucking it is. They take joy in ripping Jonah apart. They take a grotesque glee in eating them alive. This culture fucking sucks. And I do like at the end of the movie, I mean, I personally view it. There's two ways to view it, really. As I think it's Justine lacking the backbone because of her liberal pussy whipped naivety of actually saying that these people are cannibals. But the other way you can look at it is far easier. That like you should never side with the guys with the big guns. You know, I mean, those people are there for the oil. Those people are there to destroy the land.
Which I think Eli Roth definitely does not like. He does not like those. He does not like.
But I think he definitely doesn't like idealism either, or else it wouldn't have been so gratuitously punished.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I don't think that's muddled. You can have both, because I think both are equally insincere. And I think he's saying that one feeds the other. Like naive idealism, misinformed activism actually helps colonialism in its own way. Like it reinforces.
Well, their mindsets are just like colonialists, like going into the activism. Yeah. You know, they want to be those heroes for these people that they have no actual like stake in. I mean, like earlier on, Justine's like called to be a part of the group because she has
she wants that dick.
She has a crush on Alejandro. That's what it has to do with.
She wants some
Um,
dick, man.
which I mean, we find out that she's a virgin also.
And
Like,
what did the blonde friend say? I wish I knew her name, but she was like, "Stay away from that guy. He's a fucking creep. There's something weird about him." And there are Eli-isms. Eli Roth, I think, has always hated cigarettes, like vehemently hated them. Like in Hostel, if you ever see one of his characters smoking a cigarette, they're like lying or they're pieces of shit, and you just don't know it yet. Because it happens in Hostel. I think it happens in Cabin Fever. I think like one of the asshole frat boys is smoking a cigarette. Like it happens here too. Alejandro smoking, which seems out of place within this group of idealists. And it's just a little Eli-ism, a hint of fuck this guy. This guy's weird. But listen to the blonde. The blonde. How do you survive the Green Inferno? You realize that that idealist, that this kind of misinformed activism is narcissistic and stupid.
it's
Really.
self-obsessed in a way. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, but at the same time,
I would survive this horror movie. I wouldn't be there. It would be chilling at the camp.
they're putting themselves in the situation. There's this conflict between this. I mean, the militia, they're bad people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they only care about a profit, and they're willing to kill people as long as they're not caught. But then the cannibal tribe. I mean,
Just, but you can't have truth though as well. Like you can't also say that these people are cannibals. And from what I've seen of the film, I've seen it twice now. They are smiling and laughing in glee, cutting people apart and eating their eyeballs. They're that I don't give a fuck. This that's not a good culture. I don't care. That shouldn't be controversial to say.
I mean, earlier, I mean, it's, I mean,
It's a
yeah,
fictional culture too.
it's a fictional culture, and that was Eli Roth's justification when he was accused of racism. And the thing is, it still kind of paints indigenous people, our media associations of indigenous people. It villainizes them in a way, I would say, still. Um, but at the same time, cannibal tribes exist. Should
No,
we
yeah.
should we say that cannibals? Should we say, for the sake of cultural relativism, that the cannibalism should be acceptable? I
No,
don't think
no,
so.
no,
No,
no.
and
Like
and
fucking man up and say fucking no.
no, we
No.
shouldn't.
Like that's what irritates me so much about the negative reviews of this movie from people like around my age group or younger. It's like, no.
But
No.
but with that said, that's sort of the thing is, like, I guess then you could argue the problem is, while there are these problems in some cultures, at the same time, like, this is all that's being talked about. This is all that's being shown of indigenous people, and that may be the problem. I mean,
I don't know. There are guys who go to that Sentinel Island with the Sentinelese. They're like missionaries who go there and get harpooned to death, and everybody's like, "Well, serves him right. He shouldn't have gone over there." Like, fuck you, guy. How about it's like, well, he's dead. You know?
well, I think at the end of the day, what Eli Roth is, I don't think Eli Roth is like, maybe there's some tone deafness. I don't think Eli Roth is going out of his way to, like, I must villainize indigenous people.
No, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
Like the
But
conversation we were having earlier was about whether or not the movie is problematic. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is I don't think that a cannibal, a cannibal tribe film, should be safe in any respect. It'd be the most
but
be
should
a
it
betraying
should
the genre.
should cannibal films exist? There, it's interesting because this and Cannibal Holocaust. I mean, I don't really watch cannibal movies that often, but this and Cannibal Holocaust, they're big paradoxes of films. But I was surprised that they're paradoxes in completely different ways. I think ultimately, though, what Roth is saying with this movie is like, hey, listen, they're, these people that are bulldozing down cultures, they're terrible. But yeah, things are a bit more complicated than what the media presents.
Yeah.
It could be two forces that are ultimately, um, backwards, I guess, for lack of a better word. I'll just say this as a warning. I don't know how I can actually talk about this film without being somewhat problematic.
I'm not
Like,
gonna leave a warning. If it's
you know what?
problematic to say that fucking cannibalism probably isn't cool, or if cannibalism is fucking gay, I don't care. I'm doing both of those things.
Well, I mean, also like, I mean, kind of like the appeal to like people's sympathy is like when earlier on Justine sees in this class the
The
professor in her class.
FGM.
Yep,
Yeah.
female genital mutilation. There goes
Yeah. And
monetization.
I thought it was interesting how it was taught to her too. It's taught to
It
her in
was
that cultural relativist way of like it's cold, it's not adding a value judgment to anything about it too.
yeah.
Just saying it.
I think the teacher even like compared it to circumcision, like briefly,
Yeah.
hey, like we're technically mutilating genitals, but then at the same time, I still think that the teacher was sort of like trying not to be biased, but still there's still some
Yeah.
bias that shines through with the images that are shown. Uh,
But thank God for our blonde queen of the skeptics going, why are they doing this? What the fuck is the point of this? Thank you. Yeah. What's the fucking point? And should that be preserved? No, is the answer. No. And that was
yeah,
going to happen to her as well. She was going to have to face that. And I do think it's funny and shows her naivety too, because the next day or maybe later that day, she's asked by Alejandro, like, and the way he frames it is such a ill, disgusting, cringy way of it. What cause do you care for the most? I mean, all causes are important, but what cause do you care for the most? And she says, young
women's
girls in
right. Yeah,
Africa, essentially.
yeah,
The thing she just saw in class. So it's not like a
yeah,
long harbored cause that she's been deliberating and thinking over and trying to change for too long. It's literally something she saw that morning.
yeah.
Um, whereas if only she could just be satisfied to, like her friend, just eat bagels just in front of these kids on a hunger strike for their janitor with no health insurance. Just eat bagels in front of them. That's the hero of the movie. But yeah, no, it's impossible not to be problematic talking about this movie, but I wouldn't have it any other way. If we were talking about Cannibal Holocaust, which the metaphors are very strong, it's a
Yeah,
more
that's a whole
agreeable
other discussion.
metaphor, but you're still going to be problematic talking about it. Like I like how the Green Inferno turned everybody into champions of a film that is just overrun with like deliberate animal cruelty. Like
Well,
it's
yeah, because some people will be like,
whatever.
no, Cannibal Holocaust has a better message because it's like we're the real cannibals, which
Yeah,
is
but to what end? Like the amount of shit they went through to make that movie, is it
yeah,
really that
that's my
important?
point, and that's what makes that one a paradox too, because it's like it reinforces its message by it's like yes, the modern man is evil, but like it does that by proving it proves its message by being evil, by being so
Yep.
cruel to like um to all these animals on screen for no reason. They tear that turtle apart. It's just awful.
Oh God, that was so rough.
It's interesting though. It's interesting, but it's
Oh, I
awful.
think like both Cannibal Holocaust and Green Inferno are on my top like 30 horror movies of all time easily. But Green Inferno is really high up there right now. There's something about like it's the Eli Roth movie I wanted that I didn't think he was capable of, and it's not even that sophisticated. It's just Eli Roth reacting in the way that I want him to, not only to politics but to genre as well. I think this is a good dialogue with Cannibal Holocaust. I think
Yeah,
it's certainly
absolutely,
a more sophisticated film than Cannibal Holocaust, at
and
least
yeah, I
conceptually.
mean the title itself is a reference to Cannibal Holocaust because in that movie they the people that went out into the jungle they had the film that they were making was called The Green Inferno. So
And speaking just personally, like yeah, that shit scares me. Being in the jungle, the uncontacted tribes thing has always interested me. I always look. I'm a sucker for any National Geographic documentary about it.
mhm.
So, this plays into things I'm interested in quite a bit. But obviously, this isn't a documentary, nor is it trying to be at all. It's like Eli Roth was part of the return in torture porn. This has more. It is an exploitation movie still. I just think it's a surprisingly deep, has depth to it that you don't normally get with exploitation movies. as well. And we were talking about the composition. I do like Eli Roth's composition in
Yeah.
that.
And this was done for just 5 million also. And look how good it
Yeah,
looks. Yeah, like I
he's
was
like
surprised.
an unsung indie darling, really. And but I like that the problem with modern horror, not the only one, but one of the major ones, is how much the director insists on his presence in the film. Like, you're always aware that of the composition. It's almost
Oh, like
over.
Robert Eggers and Ari Aster, people like them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, Eli Roth, for being a guy who has a reputation for being incredibly narcissistic and a frat boy, he's not like that behind the camera. It's just he frames things nicely, and he knows how to create tension with his visuals, but it's not like, here's my 5 minute steady cam shot. It's not, here's this sweeping fucking thing. No, it's pretty subdued. And I think it takes restraint to do that as well. Just
Hmm.
some thoughts there for the composition, because I think that horror, at least like this, Cannibal Holocaust was good at that too. It's just you're still aware of the composition because it's partly found footage.
Yeah.
So it does.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, this movie is blowing my mind right now.
I'm liking it the more I think about it, which I mean I saw it last night and I didn't. I don't know. I thought it was just going to be like disposable, but I'm sort of interested in visiting other Eli
I
Roth
thought it
films
was going to
now.
be terrible. I thought it was going to be awful because that's all I heard about it. But it reminds me that most people are completely fucking stupid and probably felt insulted by this movie, or felt some sort of um like urge to defend some fucking fictional culture that eats people's eyeballs out of their heads while they're still alive. And
It's
I
just
can't.
like the idea. I mean, yeah,
Like, I think Eli Roth made his fucking point and made it again with how it was received
yeah, but
by young kids.
I think it is important to consider he does villainize the militia that are against
Yeah,
these people too, which
and just to quote that, to do a longer part of that quote you mentioned earlier, he when he was talking about he's like, no one's going to destroy a village because of a fucking movie. These villages are being destroyed because of the oil and the resources underneath it by corporations. Like, my movie isn't going to impact that. It's, if you actually want to direct your anger towards something, direct it to that. And then he does hate the militiamen. It's
yeah,
just that he really fucking hates those college kids. Like, he fucking hates them.
yeah. I think there's just overall contempt for everybody.
And people
Um,
like some of the criticisms are so dumb. Okay, the diarrhea scene.
and the
I have fucking Crohn's disease. It makes you shit all the time. That is a completely understandable scene for me, and it's not played for laughs either. I mean, it kind of shows the immaturity of an audience if they hear fart sounds or sounds that come from the ass. They think, oh god, so immature. The chick was probably had like yellow fever. They set this up.
pause.
Yeah.
You cut out just for a moment. Just redo the diarrhea part. Sorry. Like
Okay, can you hear
you
me?
cut out. Yeah, you cut out. All right. And I'll just go really up close. That way I know that when to cut. Okay. That way I know when to cut. Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah, sorry.
yeah,
And go.
and just to respond to some of the other criticisms I've seen that just make absolutely no sense to me, the diarrhea scene people find a lot of problem with.
Hmm.
I I have fucking Crohn's disease. It makes you shit a lot. Um, that scene made perfect sense to me. I think a fear is probably public shitting, and if you're it shows immaturity on the part of the viewer that if you hear like fart sounds and sounds that come from a butthole, that you think immaturity. Like, if you think, oh, this is played for gags, and the chick probably had yellow fever. That was set up. That was actually deliberately set up earlier with her with the mosquitoes and everything, and the music. I don't see what about that is actually that funny. They all turn away from her because it's indecent. She has lost her dignity in the corner, and they all have to sit there in her smell. And it also
They're in
shows
a
the
pig
kids
pen.
finding it so funny.
They're in a pig pen.
Yeah, I don't see what the fuck's so funny about that scene. Like, yeah, I'm glad they showed someone shitting, let alone diarrhea in a corner.
I mean, it was gross. I didn't want to see it, but yeah, I also don't want to see uh tongues being ripped out. So, you know,
I
uh,
just thought it was a relatable scene, and it played on a fear that I think that I have, or like I think everyone has. No one wants to just take a nasty shit in front of everybody. It's a pretty primal fucking fear, and then you have to sit there and smell it, and then all the little kids think it's the funniest thing in the world. Little psychotic little freaks. um, they're don't edit that out. I don't care. They are assholes. Except for one, and we'll talk about the child later. But the other scene that people think is in poor taste, which I think is partly funny, or just mostly funny, anyways, the fapping scene
oh, when
where they
Alejandra's trying to keep himself like alive and well, so he starts masturbating
it's like
in
I
front
buy
of.
it because he's such a piece of shit until he starts getting strangled by one of the dudes in the pen,
And
and
he's still
he just
going.
goes faster, like making eye contact. That's actually funny. That's fine. If you don't
Well,
like
I
that,
mean,
then I don't.
if that scene was in like a Claire Dennis film, like people would be totally fine.
Mm-hmm. But no, it's
Like,
an Eli Roth movie. So
mm. But then I mean, I think there's supposed to be some comedy to that. Maybe there's some comedy to the diarrhea scene, but it's like it's not.
the music really, nah, it's not like
It's
it's not
played
filmed like
straight.
that.
It's played straight though.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that scene where the guy, I think he's the only white guy that's traveling with him, if I'm not mistaken. No,
Yeah,
no, no,
because
so of
that
the
chick
guy,
lost her dignity in a
of the
corner. It
guy,
wasn't
of the
funny.
guy, of the guys. I think he was like one of the only white guys that was with them. And remember the tarantula?
Yeah, but
But
that's an Eliism.
yeah,
That's how we know what a joke is too in an Eli Roth world. That's how he films jokes. That's how he expresses, transcribes, vocalizes the joke. That's not what that diarrhea scene was. That diarrhea scene was a loss of dignity and just really just, oh, this is hell. This is Inferno. Um,
yeah, a green
the fapping
inferno.
scene was fucking funny. I don't care. That was that was pretty funny because it got to. I love in slashers. There's one character you're obviously supposed to hate and want to see die. I mean, we don't even see this guy die, but still, we can imagine all the cruel things that happened to Alejandro. That's always fun. And it's not like every single member of this tribe is villainous. There is a child who forms a bond with Justine over her necklace, and it's like the child is like the first character we see in the movie too. Going through the forest with the elder and seeing the bulldozer come.
Yeah, yeah,
Really,
yeah.
really
And
good
chemistry.
physicality,
Yeah.
facial expressions, and chemistry. And of course, that's how Justine escapes. Is that the child leads her away?
It's basically like recognizing that there's aspects of cultures
Yeah,
that are bad. I mean, hey, I mean, as an American, there are aspects of American culture that's bad. I can admit that,
right.
and that's how it is with every culture. And it's good to understand that so and so group is not they're not the only bad people that there are. It can get into contentious waters, but at the end of the day, a cannibal's somebody that eats somebody. I don't think that's good.
Exactly. And at the same time, I think that what Justine is doing is making contact with a member of this tribe and finding something.
Trying to reach out, yeah, like
Yeah, and it's with something that they're not exposed to. Exposing the child to an idea of a flute, or it doesn't look like they really have like wind
uh,
instruments there. I don't fucking know.
I
Doesn't
don't,
seem
yeah.
like they do. And it is showing them something that isn't part of their tribe. And of course, worldwide, our belief is that the less contact, the better. That's why the Sentinelese are an uncontacted tribe. Contact seems to destroy cultures, makes them more homogenous. And yet, that child formed that great relationship with her based on being exposed to something outside of her culture, too. So it still plays on problematic ideas. I just don't think they should be that problematic. I think if there are isolated tribes that are just eating people,
Yeah.
fuck that.
That's an interesting point you brought up. Trying to process that. I guess, but then it's also like, what is cultural exchange completely bad though?
I don't
Like,
think so, but that is like that's the ethos of the world. That's why when people study uncontacted tribes, they try to not have any impact at all. They try to be unseen.
I mean,
Yeah,
multiculturalism is not necessarily bad. I don't think, but I mean,
I don't think so either.
yeah,
But most people do. Most people think that there's a
whether
sanctity
whether it's
to.
whether it's explicitly or implicitly, yeah, I can
Yeah,
see that.
exactly, because it could be seen as
But
colonialism.
it's kind of, yeah, that's it's true. Yeah, it could be seen as that.
Which fuck that, fuck that
Yeah,
perspective. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
you know, in, in the scoreboard right now, colonialism 1, cannibalism nothing. Zip. I don't know. I'm good
Well,
right now.
I think wiping out a culture is bad. Wiping out aspects of a culture depends what it is. I mean, that kid at the end. I mean, that kid at the end ultimately betrayed their culture, right?
Yeah,
Betrayed their family.
they probably ate the shit out of that kid.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so fuck that culture.
Oh, mm.
Hey,
I don't know.
we
There's
told you we'd
just
be problematic, guys.
there's like well, okay, that's your problem. Okay,
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
I'll stand by my
There's
brave thing.
general principles I stand by, but sometimes there just are exceptions, you know. Um,
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to sound like, guys, I am so sorry, but fucking don't torture and eat people. FGM might be bad. No, no shit. Yeah, fuck that. You know? Okay. Yeah, we
well,
totally do
but
agree.
honestly, one thing I appreciate about this film is the fact that it brings certain issues to the table, where like you start asking yourself, like, well, you start questioning your own like moral fibers and how you view cultural
Yeah.
relations. I mean, for better or for worse. I mean, maybe for some people they don't get that. They just like haha poo poo and
Yeah.
eating people.
And
But I think there's some interesting things going on here, and I mean
I
that
think
completely.
yeah, idealists
I mean that
watching this
sincerely.
movie are pets.
Yeah,
I think that when idealists watch this movie, their idealism is punished and challenged, and they don't respond kindly.
yeah. I mean,
Fuck
like,
them.
I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, it's like, I
I
mean,
saw reviews going like, "This didn't even for a second make me think that we were the savages." But I mean, poor
well,
white people. Am I right? Like, oh, fuck off! They're eating eyeballs.
they're
I
not
don't understand.
the most of the. I mean, I guess there's some white girls in it, but the main character, she's not white.
Most
A
of these
lot,
people are
most
Chilean
of
or
these people,
Peruvian.
yeah, a lot of these people are Peruvian, and I mean,
And
it's a
that's
little
even
weird.
besides the point. I mean,
It's beside the point, and also it still does villainize them. That's the thing. Um, the idea is that they're stupid.
exactly.
And it's not just like villainizing like SJWs. I mean, it's like, okay, I mean, I think the term SJW doesn't really have much meaning.
I think it
Like,
did in 2013, and I think they deserved it in 2013. They deserved this movie.
well, yeah. I mean, so there'd be like, the freaks on Tumblr and stuff that would be like that would be basically like a detriment to their own like causes in a way.
Much like
Um,
these guys.
yeah. But then but of course, I mean, I'm sure you believe this too. A lot of the people that are fighting for social justice are good. It's just that some
Yeah.
people have misplaced ideas and ultimately are actually a lot more self-obsessed than they think they are.
Yeah, I think that self-obsession and fighting for social justice is has far
Counterintuitive.
too. Yep. Well, and I think that the connection between those two things is way too strong to seem genuine to outsiders.
I
I
mean,
mean, when I look at like most conservative criticisms of social justice movements has to do with hypocrisy, and I think that seeming genuine is a very important thing for people who are outside of that group. And if you seem disingenuous, if you seem narcissistic, or that you're getting some sort of financial or personal or sexual gain from a movement, then it kind of defiles and destroys the movement too. And I think that that these
yeah,
kinds of people deserve to be punished.
I don't know if they don't deserve to be eaten.
No, but in a movie, yeah. Sure, go for it. I mean, I could name a lot of movies where conservatives are punished. This is fine. This is fine. But yeah.
I mean, they have some conservative ideas anyway. So I mean, these guys, they're not they're narcissists. They're
Hmm.
not. I don't find them all genuine. I don't. I mean, like,
Jonah seems very genuine, but most of
Jonah
them, like you
does.
said, they're like misinformed and misled. Yeah, and Jonah gets it so fucking rough. Jonah gets it so he has that his voice sounds so kind and so nice and gentle. And they lay him down on that rock and just rip out his eyeballs, delimb him, dismember him while he's still alive, cut off his head. It doesn't get better from
And
there.
laugh and laugh.
Yep, and laugh and celebrate and be joyful. And while we're partly on the subject, I think the gore is great here. I saw Greg Nicotero's name here. Pro, what a fucking pro. Um, Gore is great. The gore is great in the movie. But to get back to the interesting things, which is our possibly problematic political discussion. But I think horror should be problematic like this. I think horror forces
Why?
you to accept a world with a certain rule set, a certain idea that you have to align yourself with. You have to align yourself with the world that you're given in a movie.
Like a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of times horror will like expose like certain conservative fears that people have,
Well,
and
yeah, it's all about
it dissects.
internalized. Yeah. Oh,
Not that they should have those fears, but sometimes but it's worth exploring like these. I mean, it's just like people I think are like almost. I mean, I'm not everybody, of course, but a lot of people they want to see violence on screen. They know violence is bad, but they
mhm.
but it's within human interest to explore those ideas. I just think it's also important that we know right from wrong, but
Sure.
also that right and wrong, it's a flimsy dichotomy in the first place,
Yeah.
which is what I think your Inferno is about. I mean, in the end, when Justine lies and says that everybody except her died on the plane, and the cannibal tribe was good to her. Um, when she lies, it's almost like because she wants because ultimately she still views the militia as bad.
And I view them as spineless. I view her
Yep.
as spineless for doing that. Fuck that culture. But I think
Well,
that
yeah,
that
but they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. People don't have the right to bulldoze them down. They're fighting back, but they shouldn't eat people.
thank you. It
There
seems
you
like
go.
that's a large part of their culture, though. A very definitive part of it. Yeah, horror plays
Yeah,
on
yeah. I mean,
internalized.
hey, when they got there, there were skeletons everywhere. They've been eating people. They probably eat their own tribe member. I mean, I don't know for sure. I don't think, but that's what it seems like.
Sure, just say it. It's fine. We can slander this fictional tribe. That's fine. We can do this. But
Well, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I think the idea is that they probably eat their own people too,
yeah. Horror is about
which is why probably the one kid is doesn't really care all that much by killing people.
yeah. Uh, I think horror should really be about exposing the internalized fear of the other or the unknown that we all have to a certain extent. And you can take any staple of the horror genre, any trope or any iconic component of the genre itself. Take vampires, for instance. Vampires started off as like a Nosferatu, anti-Semitic, and by the time Bela Lugosi and Todd Browning came along with their Dracula, it was a fear of the vaguely Eastern European foreigner who wanted to steal away our women who found him simply irresistible and to die for. By the 80s and 90s, vampires were sexually androgynous and there was something wrong with our blood. And it was about a fear of AIDS, fear of homosexual visibility. It was fear of something that most people were having to confront and having to process. Even torture porn, which Eli Roth worked within, is about an internalized being desensitized and internalizing that, about watching beheading videos, about watching all these grimy, about commodifying murder, and just having to live with that, having to find the morality within that. And there's a reason why most final girls are virginal and untouched, because it's about
including this one that's in the Green Inferno.
absolutely good point there. It's about we internalize certain things that we think are shameful and that we think are sinful. You know, the church is right, your parents are right, your grandma's right. That's
But
what's scary in the end.
but do you that might be what is scary? But do you think there's other fears, or or rather, I guess I should ask, do you think there can be a leftist horror film, or
Like arguably some of the postmodernists were. Kevin Williamson, I think, is brilliant, but is he really scary? Probably not. He's just incredibly fascinating for me to discuss. The postmodernists can do it because they deconstruct notions of a virginal final girl.
yeah,
They
but if it's deconstruction,
Mhm.
it's almost like just a response, and it's arguably maybe anti-horror. I mean, maybe.
Exactly. No, no,
I
no.
mean,
It falls suit with being anti-horror for sure. But imagine if this film was leftist, and then they go
well,
there and they know
in
everything,
some
and they
way,
just get along with the tribe and kumbaya. That's not horror. Or they end up siding with the tribe and like
yeah. I
battling
mean,
evil.
even like even in Cannibal Holocaust, I mean, the tribe, I think it's portrayed kind of neutrally, but you could still kind of look at the tribe and say, yeah, they shouldn't be eating people.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be raping their daughters
Well, in
because
Cannibal Holocaust, it's no question the evil people of that movie are the white invaders for sure.
yes,
Oh, for sure. No question.
which is a good message.
I
Also,
agree.
the filmmakers of Cannibal Holocaust, because
Yes.
they're killing animals, as I mentioned. Like this film, Green Inferno, it seems like everybody's kind of rotten, just in different ways. And
Yeah.
the whole thing is it's not as simple as no, this person's good, no, this person's good, person's bad, this person's bad. In the end, it's like people are bad in different ways. You know,
People
I
are bad
mean,
in different ways.
Justine just wants Alejandro until she realizes that he's terrible.
Yep. If reality has a liberal bias, then horror has a conservative one. That's all. That's it. Fictive world.
Even when it does employ like maybe some like liberal or leftist ideas here and there, I mean, it still has like those, or I would say at least at the very least, even if horror doesn't necessarily have to be conservative.
Well, I think
um
horror should be disagreeable. Like,
yeah, I'm starting to agree with that, because I think, like violence, there are certain things that people are compelled to see, even if they view it as bad. Like when it comes to like, I think it's important that we just are able to sort right from wrong, but at the same time, we should also acknowledge that that dichotomy itself can be distrusted. Which is what Cannibal Holocaust and this movie is kind of about in some ways,
yeah,
about how everything is just this giant mess. You know, I mean, yeah, the militia is terrible, but so are the cannibals, and in some ways, so are the activists. And it's not even just saying that like everybody is like equally bad. No, it's not. They're just bad in different. This is bad in very different ways. And then and also with the activists, like they're all there for like different reasons. I mean, some of them are more sincere than others, but some of them have just different
they're useful idiots.
priority. Yeah, they're useful idiots, but at the same time, it's like some of them want to do good. Some of them are just like they tell themselves they want to do good, but in reality, they just want to be with a girl or with a guy or
Yeah, what they were doing was fucking stupid. To go back to my another reason probably why I connect so much to the best friend at the beginning, the blonde roommate, when she's like, "This is just some way to like pay penance for their like suburban Jewish guilt," and then she says, "I can say that because I'm Jewish." I'm also very Jewish. I agree. I agree. That's how you live in Green Inferno. Don't be a fucking idiot and and go on this stupid narcissistic venture. For real. Want to talk about the acting real quick because that's something that
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not.
is criticized.
I mean, maybe the guy that got the tarantula, I could maybe see. Maybe he's
He
a
was
little.
fine. The Spy
He was.
Kids guy, he was fine.
He was fine, but I was only brought him up first because I don't get the criticism. Do I just not understand acting? I don't get the but like the main girl in it, or woman rather, she's great. I thought she was
Mm-hmm.
great in it. Um, and
And that was Eli
Alejandro,
Roth's wife at the time, and you can see. I mean, I think he films her pretty lovingly with dignity too.
yeah, not overly sexualized.
No, and the
Um,
people talk about how there's no likable characters in this movie, and I'm like, Justine's incredibly likable. If you're not rooting for Justine, then you're trying
yeah,
too
oh yeah,
fucking
I
hard to be
don't. I
different.
mean, maybe at the end maybe she makes some wrong choices at the end, but not saving like her, you know.
No, fuck that. The Alejandro guy, let him die.
Yeah, well,
Let him be ripped
but
apart.
both the Cannibal Kid and Justine, they betray their own people in a way, you know.
God, it's so brutal when that dude is like eaten by ants or whatever, and he's like, kill me," and that the child, the kid
You
who he
don't.
liked so much,
Hey,
went up and like made him pass out and then cut his throat.
oh,
Has
speaking of cutting throats, one of another standout scene is
this was brutal.
when the lesbian vegan girl they're like fed meat, and then I think she starts realizing that in all likelihood she's eating one of her friends.
Because all the kids are running around with her girlfriend's skin, the tattoos, like pretending it's their like skin. And it's
Yeah,
at the
well,
bottom of her bowl.
she might be eating her girlfriend.
She is eating her
Yeah,
girlfriend. Her
yeah,
skin's at the bottom of the bowl, her
yeah.
tattoo. And then she just breaks the bowl and just, holy shit. That's
She doesn't. She knows that the other people are eating. And she's just like, I'm just done.
yeah,
And
peace.
it's like it's brutal, and it's not. I don't think the film is nearly as juvenile as people make it out to be.
No.
There are moments. There are moments, but like,
But God forbid there are juvenile moments in a movie about college kids. God forbid. Like there should be. They're still in college.
yeah. I mean, people like rave about like Midsummer and stuff.
Fuck
Like,
that.
this is better than that.
This is way better. And talk about daylight horror too. This is way better. Every aspect.
Yeah.
Movie like kind of blowing my mind. I love how
Well,
I
also,
love it because
also,
it's also making me like admit
may,
problematic things to myself, possibly too. Like it's making me confront things, internalized things that we're talking about. The only way to get past internalized fear of the other is to confront it in its worst form and transcend it, rise above it, and learn to accept it. I mean,
there we
that's
go.
where horror gets good. That's where horror gets valuable to culture. And it's doing that for me. I'm at the first part of it though, where I'm going, fuck this culture and everything about it. But
Yeah.
eventually
I
you
guess
get more exposure.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Let me just say this one more time. I don't condone cannibalism. I think the issue is not so much depicting terrible cannibal people. It's just the fact that like throughout history, indigenous people on screen, they're not given nearly the same amount of dignity as everybody else, just in general. Are there like terrible cannibal people? Yes, there are. Should they be glorified? No,
No,
no.
they definitely should.
But at the same time, like you have to understand, like these different indigenous tribes, they're not humanized in media in general, and that's the thing. But like when they get depictions on screen, it is like these problematic depictions. But it's like, should we then just not have these problematic depictions? I mean, these are questions. I mean, I ask these questions upon watching this film because it's like, well, hey, that's an interesting question there. I mean, whether it's in or against the film's favor, it still makes me ask these questions. Um, in truth, I think that in realities, cultures are pretty terrible in a lot of ways in general.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that to elevate my own culture. As I mentioned before, like there are many things wrong with America. There are many things wrong with I mean, geez.